Welcome to the International Teacher Podcast with your host, Kent the Cat Guy, Jacqueline from JP Mint Consulting, Darian the Family Guy, and Greg the Single Guy, bringing you episodes from around the world about the best-kept secret in teaching. You got it, international education. Welcome to the show. This is Greg reporting from the International Teacher Podcast. And I am alone without my co-host today. This is just a spur of the moment. I'm with Eric and Tamara, and they are both teaching at the school I'm presently at. I wanted to welcome you to the show. Eric and Tamara, how are you?
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Can you give us a little bit of a nutshell about what you each do at our school?
I've been a second grade teacher the majority of my 13 years here. A little bit of time at fourth and also some time substituting. We call it attrition.
And I started out as a kindergarten teacher, and then I did K-4, which was the 4-year-old program. And then I did third grade for a couple of years and the substitute job for a couple of years, which was awesome to get to be in all the different classrooms. And then back to kindergarten, and this year back to K-4, the 4-year-olds, for our final year.
So funny because I get to see this much of you, Tamara. Like you guys are in the camera. You're both like this. You're like a little bit of here, a little bit of here. You guys are going to have to get closer together. You're married now.
We're closer together right there. That's fine.
Got it. You know, the original reason I had you on, Eric, do you remember being on the International Teacher Podcast?
A while ago. Yeah, 21.
Yeah, a long time ago. We talked about finances, so our listeners can go back to that. I was hoping today, though, is that you've both been teaching a long time overseas, and I was hoping that you would share your destination story. You guys have a trip planned out, and I'm just so amazed I want to share it with our listeners. Can you share your trip idea? And we're not going to jinx you. We're just going to support you on your way. Tell us what's going on. What are you guys looking forward to?
We are retiring 1 week from today after long careers abroad and in the States. 1 year in the States for Tamara, 17 for me. But we're wrapping things up and decided that we wanted to have some adventure before we went home. Some of the research that friends who have retired before us shared was that they understood it was good to have a gap experience between your last abroad post and going home, and to give yourself some memories and experiences in between the two so that you're not always comparing your last post with home, because that can be detrimental to folks. So we started putting together ideas, and one thing led to another, which led to 7 or 8, and we have a 5.5-month plan that we'll be executing next week.
So you guys have been saving for quite a while and planning out about a 6-month trip before you head back home. So you're not always just thinking, oh, what a great time we had in school.
Right.
Okay. I can't wait to hear this trip. I've heard it twice now, and I can't keep track. I know it's all in your head, too, Eric. You planned it. It's all paid for. It's all planned out. I know Tamara's laughing, too. Tell us about your trip. Tell us about the plan.
Well, we'll start off flying to Johannesburg, South Africa, and we'll spend a week in the Limpopo region.
Doing a safari.
Yep. And then we'll head down to Cape Town just for a night. I've heard Cape Town's a beautiful place, but we will not have time to see much of it.
Back there,
so we'll have to visit again. We're going to do a cruise up the west coast of Africa that leaves Cape Town and gets us to Portugal 18 days later to Lisbon. And we'll stop in various African countries along the way, in Walvis Bay, Namibia, and Luanda, Angola, Sao Tome Principe, Canary Islands, Dakar, Senegal, and then ending up in Lisbon. And then we'll be in Lisbon, and then we'll go to Porto and do the Camino from Porto to Oia in Spain. Yeah.
What's a Camino?
Often it's a religious pilgrimage for Catholic folks. We're doing it for a fun pilgrimage. You walk between 10 and 14 miles a day on the route we're doing along the coast heading north, and then stop in little hotels along the way. We're going to be lazy and have a bag carried for us, so we'll just have light backpacks, day packs, and enjoy ourselves and stop along the way.
And we are currently going to be packing in 4 duffel bags. That's
for our 5
plan.
months.
Yeah, our plan is to be in duffel bags, and we got a cart so we can roll the cart. But eventually, I think we'll probably pare down to 3 and then maybe 2. So when we finally get to the States in August, we might have fewer things
on our
that
back.
we haven't, that we've kind of left along the way after we were done using them.
So from there, we're going to England. We're going to go to a school of ministry for 9 weeks. That's something we wanted to do. So we're going to take our teacher hats off. We'll be students, be studying at Cape and Ray in the Lake District, which will be fun. This is essentially a castle on a 135-acre property. So we're just going to go enjoy being in nature and studying God's Word. That's important to us. From there, we fly to the Republic of Georgia for 2 weeks of hiking, Bavaria for 2 weeks of hiking and a bike and barge. And then we'll take another cruise ship, back to the U.S., getting us to Boston in August. That will go around Iceland and give us the opportunity to visit there.
So you're going to stop in Iceland, too?
Yeah.
The cruise goes through Iceland and a couple of stops in Canada, and then hits Boston.
Oh, we can't forget Canada, right? Because that's a whole different country right there. I think it's north of us. Wow. So this trip is going to take you about 6 months to do this whole trip back from the Middle East, where we are now, all the way along the African coast, and you're going to go boom, 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 boom. Wow. How do you plan for this?
Bit by bit. Like I said, we had the idea we wanted to attend a Bible college when we left here, do something different. And when we found a program that worked for us, something that would accept much older students, to be very honest, we just built around that. And one of the things that was very intriguing to us was the idea of using cruise ships as transportation rather than a trip alone. And so in looking for those, we found we could take these pretty phenomenal trips for just a few $100s more than a direct flight, like the Cape Town to Portugal trip. Yeah, that flight would have only been about $600, not even that, maybe $500 cheaper than what we paid for the 18-night cruise, and we get to go so many ports up the West African coast and then have the cruise experience. Same with the trip from England to Boston, just a few $100s more to do 15-day cruise in that case. So it sounds like a very ostentatious trip. We're doing it.
It is ostentatious.
But we're doing it in a budget-friendly way. So it's not going to break the bank. It sounds like a big number. When we looked at it originally, I thought, oh, we're spending that much on travel in 6 months. But on the day-to-day, it's no more than we would have done on other trips, and still as well within budget.
In all fairness, I don't know about Tamara, but I know that you are, Eric, you're a fan of Andrew Hallam and probably Mark Zorel, and you've been financially planning this out your whole life. You've been keeping things set up so that you can enjoy the smaller things, right? So a good message to our listeners, right, from you would be...
You're very gracious to say that, and I have to, in all fairness, say Tamara's far better than me. She's the sugar mama of the two of us. So, yeah, she's in much better shape with all of that. Stronger saver, better investor, and I've learned a lot from her. And again, you referenced Andrew. Do not go back and listen to what you and I had to say. That was nice. What Andrew has is much deeper. Mark Zorel are wonderful resources for folks.
So, Tamara, have you read Mark the work from Andrew Hallam also? Is that how you sort of started saving?
No, before that I was saving, because when I got here, my mom said, well, just save as much as you can while you're as young as you are. And so I saved a huge percentage. And at times I thought, oh, should I be saving more? But then I thought, well, no, I need cash also. I don't need it all in retirement funds. So it's worked out well. But I did read The Millionaire Teacher, Andrew Hallam, and I was looking for a financial planner, and I stumbled across Mark Zorel, and then I did some research, and Andrew Hallam's name came up, like vouching for him, and I thought, well, if this guy Andrew Hallam says he's good, then he probably is, and so I've been with Zorel for a number of years. His prices are a little higher now, but he's a great financial advisor for someone who doesn't want someone to manage their money, but just wants advice. So we've had a couple of meetings with him that have been really beneficial. Yeah, so he knows his stuff. Highly recommend him.
Yeah. And when
I
Tamara
just
says a
go
little
over
more,
to Eric's classroom and ask Eric a few questions.
when Tamara says Mark's gotten a little more expensive, it's the price of a Starbucks coffee and maybe a muffin monthly to get really worthwhile advice. And I would argue that that's going to be some of the best money you'd spend.
Yeah. There's like
He's got a waiting list, though. That's the problem. I've been on his
that's
waiting
true.
list for like 2 years.
That's all right.
Yeah, but maybe I'm on the same waiting list I am for a new home, which is usually like number 41 out of 40, right? Who knows? But I agree. I mean, I would like to have some advice from Mark Zorro. I'm just waiting my place in line, and I haven't been very attentive. I think this is a great celebration for the over 50s crowd of our listeners, and it's also a great celebration for the younger ones that are just starting out, or the ones that haven't done overseas yet, because you guys are celebrating your retirement just before 60, and it's a culminating event for you. To travel like this is amazing. That's why I wanted you on the show. But the fact that you can do this and not break your bank, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And that's just, go back and again, read Andrew's book, just do some simple research on investing. If, as international teachers, we're willing to make, I don't want to say sacrifice, if you're willing to not go insane with your salary and just save, 20 to 50%, you can have, well, I know it sounds insane, but you can do incredibly well for yourself. There's folks here who I think probably even save more than we do. And there's folks who are, brunching it up several times a month who are going to have a different story down the road. And I love them, but I think that it's just decisions and giving yourself a simple lifestyle, something that's easy, that's repeatable anywhere, not getting into crazy expensive hobbies or lifestyle. Keep life simple, keep it fun, and you're good to go.
I had this realization this summer. Like I've never bought a business class ticket to travel. I've been upgraded because I was very loyal to Emirates for a number of years. And so I've had the taste, and it's really, luxurious.
Well, it's awesome.
But I've always just flown economy and been content with that. And this past summer we were talking about prices of tickets, and like an economy ticket on one of the airlines, like say Turkish Airlines, we found that those prices have been pretty good. I mean, really good compared to Emirates lately. Mm-hmm. And so thinking like what an Emirates business class ticket would cost compared to what an economy ticket would cost with Turkish Airlines, and huge gap, in the price there. And you could, I could just say, like $5,000 difference, about. Amazing. And so if that's, you figure some people travel twice a year back to the States. So that's $10,000 a year. So in 5 years, you could have $50,000, or you could have sat in a larger seat with a fancier meal 10 times. Yeah. Like, would you rather have $50,000 or 10 times in a larger, comfortable seat with fancier food? Yeah. Like, I had never thought of it that way. So I think it's easy to get, like, kind of like Eric was saying, like, to maybe get caught in a lifestyle where, oh, well, everyone's going to go to Dubai or go to Bahrain or fly to Europe for this concert. Everyone's doing it. I can do it. Or, oh, it's a 3-day weekend. I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there. One time my mom said to me, Tamara, do you really think you should be traveling so much? Do you have, like, she was concerned. And there was a time when, I had friends writing me being like, do you actually work anymore? Because it happened to be at a time when the way the calendar goes, we had so many holidays. We'd have company holiday, 3-day weekends. And then there were the Eid holidays that were just kind of spread out. Plus we had spring break. Plus we had the Christmas break. So it was like, there were just lots of opportunities for travel. And I definitely have been many places. And I've stayed in fancy places. I've stayed in really simple places. We've stayed in horrible places.
Horrible places.
Not on purpose. One time with my mom, I booked a hotel called Crest View Inn in New Delhi. It was with a tour, so it was like they booked it and, I okayed it. And my mom called it the Crusty View Inn. Like, we were like, that bad. It was not a place we were looking forward to going back to. Anyway, so I think I've done some significant things where I've made choices like I'm not going to buy a bunch of name brand things or fancy things because that's not an interest of mine. But I have bought nice guitars over the years, and I have bought golf clubs and gone and got them fitted, which is expensive. So I've spent money, But, and we work so that we can make choices with what we do with our money. But I think that it is easy. A person could easily feel like, oh, everyone's going and doing that. I have money. I can go do that.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of people, you move overseas and you make significantly more than you made in America or Canada or wherever you came from your local. And so you just feel like, wow, now I have like all this discretionary income, but you can't look at it as discretionary. You really should think, how much can I save and still enjoy life, because you are overseas, but you don't have to do 5-star or sit in business class every flight, that kind of thing.
Or do it once in a while. I think that's one of the things that we really forget when we come abroad. So many of us left us, if you're in the U.S. School system in a state where you were paying into a retirement system. And that's great. You're not going to get rich doing it, but it was something. And when we come abroad, we let that go. And we forget that we need to be taking care of ourselves. So I think simple rules: when you do get paid, pay yourself first. And whatever your new post is, if you start trying to do, you say 20% at that first school, and move it up a little bit here or there if you can, get used to whatever that salary is and the lifestyle you can have on it. And even if it's a step down from what you were doing at a previous school or in your state, you adapt. You get used to it. You find, hey, this is pretty darn good. Pay yourself first, have fun with the other money, and do those crazy things once in a while. I have flown business class too, when I've been bumped up or when our company paid for it. Otherwise, I'm very happy back in my economy with my little squeezed seat for a few hours and a whole lot more money in my pocket. We'll go out to dinner on occasion. We like to go to local places and experience local food. I tell you, when we've gone into I don't want to say rough neighborhoods, the very local neighborhoods and the community we're in, we have meals that are beyond imagination. And when we go to delicious, and when we go to the U.S. restaurants that are quasi-fancy, we have some okay food. It looks fancier and it costs a heck of a lot more, but we're not having nearly the experience.
Well, I tell you what, I have envy once in a while. I mean, I'm this close to getting a first class, not that I can afford it either, but I'm this close. Like, I was in Dubai just weeks ago. I had to head home, and I'm sitting there, and in other cultures, they don't always stand in line. I mean, the Emirates could be calling the next flight only certain zones, but everybody stands up like an hour before the flight leaves, and there's this big mess. There's no line. And I'm sitting here, like, sitting next to, like, 5 really smelly travelers. And I'm thinking to myself, my God, if I could only buy first class, I'd be the first one on and the first one off, right? And just be sitting there having a champagne while everybody else is loading up and fighting. But no, I still I still end up in, like, aisle 45, back in the back by the toilet. And I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. But it's a fight that I'm willing to do because you're saving the money on what are you going to do anyway in the first class? You're going to sleep anyway.
Yeah.
Travelers, we can sleep anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. It's just getting used to doing that. And you came back earlier when we talked about our retiring. We're leaving. I'm age 58. Tam's 50. So we're relatively young to be doing this. And that savings that we talked about, what we were purchasing that whole time, I realize now, was our own time.
The gift at the end.
By not going to, brunch at the Four Seasons, although I've done that and I loved it, by not doing it regularly, we now have years of freedom to do whatever we want. And because of the miracle of compound interest, especially these last few years, we've been able to watch phenomenal growth happen for ourselves. So now we can go to those expensive things and do them if we so desire. Again, things change. They go up and down. We could find ourselves with half our net worth 6 months from now, but we'll still be okay because we've gotten used to a pretty simple lifestyle and being happy with basics.
I think also we can't discount, like, the families that we've come from, because both of our families, like, we learned the value of saving.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe as an encouragement, maybe for some viewers, maybe if saving and being on a budget is less familiar with some people and it's kind of newer to them, it's a consideration that you can model that for your kids.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Figure it out, because if you have kids, you can be modeling that so that they grow up financially literate and aware of good choices that a person can make. So, but I think, because I know a lot of people, you're overseas, but you have family back home and you're able to support, because you are overseas, you have enough that you can support. So we haven't had to do that, but definitely would have been willing had that case.
Absolutely.
Well, I think what's great about that is that you start early too. And if you start early, like you've said all the time, Eric, if you incrementally do a little percentage like from beginning of being overseas, you can
Right.
actually save money, you can play, but you can
Yeah,
also save. First you
you
save
betcha.
and
You
pay
betcha.
yourself.
Right. But also, if you are someone who is, watching this and saying, well, I'm 50, this is ridiculous, I can't do it. I'll tell you, at 50, I had the glorious experience of going through a divorce. And I found my life's pie cut in half and was looking at it saying, I'm screwed. I am screwed. But nailed it down. I started doing some tutoring, kept myself busy, went to a little leaner lifestyle than I'd had before. And 8 years later, I can't believe the position I'm in. It's far better than I ever would have imagined it would be.
I think that has to do with two things. It has to do with non-bread, because you and Mike always went to get that Indian non-bread in that cheaper place, which is so good, and you could use it for like a week. You could have it in your freezer.
Absolutely, yeah.
Cut it up and then put it in your toaster, right?
And it would be the equivalent of 30 cents for this pizza-sized amazing piece of bread that was incredibly versatile. You're right. We did those cheap things and we had fun and it was delicious.
And the other thing was, who's sitting right next to you? And tell us a little bit. I mean, this is a great story because you're over 50, Eric, and you're overseas and you run into life problem and you're divorced and you're like, here's, it hits the fan, right? And
Right.
yet you're an inspiration for all of us single people, Greg the single guy. You're an inspiration because look who's sitting right next to you, right? Tell us a little bit about your celebration story, about being overseas and falling in love with each other. Come on.
Well,
Tell us a
okay,
great
I
story.
will say that because we packed up recently, I was going through a journal that I'd written and, saying like, okay, but if I ever get married, or will I ever get married?
And how old were you
and
at that point?
I said, if I'm married, when I was writing this, I was like in my mid 30s. So here I am rereading it at 50 after getting married at 46. And I had written, will I get married? Will I have a husband? And at 50, do I leave Aramco at 50? And would my husband be willing to leave at 50? Like, I was reading it to Eric, like, look what I wrote 15, years ago. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say.
Is it because you were teaching together and you found each other at school? Was it at church? Because I know you both love to go to church. Was it all of those things put together? I mean, little story there, a little excitement.
The teaching community is small. So when they were arriving, there were people who knew they were coming. He was coming and said, hey, you really should meet the Woods. And so it was coming recommended from other people that I was already friends with here. And the teaching community is so small, you meet people.
Yeah. In my case, when I found myself in this new life position, I just took a big pause, and that was really helpful to just say, I need to just learn how to be me on my own and not worry about this whole dating thing. And so I filled my time with that tutoring and made some extra money, started patching up the financial part of things. And when it was time, I poked my head out and just started working on friendships. And friendship of a couple of years then worked into something far more significant.
It's a great story. I mean, congratulations. And then you guys did you get married in the States or did you get married overseas?
We got married in the States, and it was coming out of COVID times. So it was just in my sister's backyard. And I had never had like these ideas of, I need all these things at my wedding. Yeah. So it was simple, but it was perfect. It was just what we wanted it to be. Yeah. And I think because we've been overseas, like we had a rehearsal dinner, and I said, like, we had a little rehearsal get together the day before, just so that my niece and nephew would know where to walk to drop flowers along the backyard, and just have a little talk through of the music that's going to play, whatever. And we had an ice cream truck that we brought because my niece and nephew did not know that there was ice cream in an ice cream truck. My sister would tell them it just played nice music. And so we brought an ice cream truck, and no one knew that this ice cream truck was coming to my sister's house. And I like orange chicken from Panda Express. And so we didn't have the fancy like rehearsal things or all the stuff, but it was fun to be able to make it be simple. And because we're overseas, there were things that were just special just because we were back in the States for it. So having that, and then we took many things from here with us back to the States to bring the Middle Eastern culture and half of my heritage from this part of the world, to have that be part of it too. So yeah, we got married in the States, and then came back here, and
started life.
Yeah, and initially it was like, well, can we leave at the end of this school year? Like I kept saying, can we leave? I wasn't, I mean, I've lived this 20 years now, and my childhood was also here in the same company, so I love being here. But I was like, let's, there's more to get on with. There's more things to do in life. Let's go do something else. And I think that's one thing I can say, really thankful for both of us, that we're not leaving burnt out. We're not leaving angry. We're not throwing the towel in, or like, I've had it, or just holding on, like, just got to make it to whatever. So I feel like we're in a really good place to be feeling like our hearts are full with everything, with living here, with friendships here, and really even like making new friends and feeling like, oh gosh, there are new people we've been becoming friends with. Like now now we're leaving, so we'll have to continue in a different way than if we'd lived here. So I think you should always be reaching out, because you never know who you're going to connect with. Yeah.
All right, let's take a moment for a little commercial about how to get in touch with us. You can, of course, find all four of us at the itpexpat.com. That's www.itpexpat.com.
Or you could also find us at email at internationalteacherpodcast@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
Or if you're into Facebook, we have a new Facebook group at www.facebook.com/groups/ITPexpat, where you can find all kinds of inside information about ITP Expat.
You can also find us on Instagram at ITP Expats. That's with an S. ITP Expats is our handle.
All right, and thank you, listeners. We have over 100 countries represented by our listeners, and though we're not monetized, we are here for you, and we would like to thank all of you for listening. So let's get back to the show. So your journal right now, is it going to be like, no more teaching, we're done? I'm married now at 50, and we're leaving overseas. What do you guys think? What's the next step besides this super trip that you're going to end and go back and reconnect with maybe with family and friends back in the U.S. and life for a little bit? Do you see yourselves going overseas again? Because you always say, let's try something else. It's not over yet. What do you think?
I mean, I think in some ways we'll just see what unfolds, but initially we're going to go live with my mom in Southern California.
Help her out.
And I mean, she's invited us to come and live at home with her. And so that way she can continue to live at home for longer.
You got invited? I have to invite myself to my dad. So I'm thinking about doing the same thing at the end of my little rainbow here. I'm thinking I'm going to go back and spend some time in the States with Dad while I have the chance.
And these are real considerations. I think that we, almost like a financial account, we've been taking withdrawals from family for a long time by being abroad and, popping into their lives and saying, hey, look at us for the summer. And then we take off again. Yeah. And I think that we need to go back and really conscientiously try to be in people's lives as much as they want and try and, maybe make up for time, but just let them know, hey, we were on an adventure. We went and did all these fun things, but home is here and we love you and we want you to know that you're valued and we want to be a part of things.
It sounds like that's what I'm going to do with Dad, yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead, Tamara.
I was going to say, we have some, like I would say, kind of smaller goals or smaller things, like not a career in any sense, but like I want to learn to play the piano and I'm going to learn to crochet. I mean, you could say, well, do you really need to wait till you retire to do that? But that's at least something to give some shape to my day. And Eric is interested in doing some planting and fruit trees and some things in my mom's yard. So it'll, and then we'll just see what life develops, like what develops in life. And it's nice to be in a position where we don't feel like we have to rush and make any decisions. Yeah.
Wow, you guys are inspirational. I mean, we're at, when you say that you're so modest, Eric, but I think it is inspirational to think that you're just going to sort of say, we've done teaching. We might go back. Who knows? Let's go try some more life things. I want to learn piano, crocheting. I mean, just so you know, Tamara, we never talked about this in all the years we've known each other, but I know how to knit, but I only know how to knit one direction. I don't know how to make the loop and go back. So it doesn't really, that was a long time ago.
Is that why all your sweaters have staples throughout them? Yeah, that one
No, that's
piece
because
just
I
goes
keep
around
putting
there.
food on them and keep getting food on them, and I get a hole in them. And these are things we've never talked about before. But it is inspirational at our age compared to teachers that are just starting overseas, right? For us to talk about this and to celebrate what you two are doing, not only have you found love, but you've also been working at savings over the years while traveling the world and teaching and loving it, right? I don't know what to say next. It's like, wow, I can only hope to follow in your footsteps in many ways, right? For both of you. Yeah, it's tough to say. It's crazy. Tell me, let's switch gears a little bit. I know that you guys had a great trip to India because Eric had asked me, this is a couple of years ago too, right? You went with the church and you went to that wonderful trip. Can you tell us a little bit about that trip as a story for people?
We had two different trips where we've gone and done mission sorts of work. First one was Zambia, and the second was in Nepal, where we took small groups and went and did
Nepal,
essentially Sunday school sorts of things in different communities. Both of those were really, really rich. We had phenomenal experiences. Yeah, just a really great time. Not always the easiest travel or accommodations, but boy, rich experiences and so worthwhile.
Yeah, I think serving and giving is...
Serving and giving. No, you're right. Serving and giving is a paramount of giving back to yourself too, right? Giving to other people makes you feel so much better, right? Not to be selfish, but it is a self-fulfillment also to help others first.
Yeah, I think so. Even here in our community, just finding ways to get involved. I was very much involved in the golf club and on the board of this to help run our golf club in this community. And I think it's important that we all have talents and we have abilities, so we should be seeing how we can contribute. And I think a lot of people, they coach their kids basketball, baseball teams, or they're making, they're organizing things for their kids and stuff. So as singles, or as a single person, that's what I thought I could contribute and give back to the community in the way I could do it. So I think your life can't be all about yourself. So even in retirement, we're going to be looking for where can we serve, because I know we'll land there in Southern California, and there'll be, if people know that we have some abilities in some different areas, we have time, and we know how to be with kids, we know how to do some music, willing to work
Peter,
hard.
Paul, and Mary. I've heard them listeners. I've heard them sing. It's like Peter, Paul, and Mary. It's awesome. I love it that you guys are going to give back. So I have one question. I have two questions for you that are sort of basically the International Teacher Podcast staple questions for guests. I didn't ask you this last time, Eric, because it was a long time ago, and we have developed this over the years. So you have a little time to think about this, but do you have any police stories or customs stories in your travels that you'd like to share?
You know exactly where you want us to go with this one, don't you?
Go ahead. Yeah, choose.
Okay. So the biggie, and Tam, you had last year we were out on a deep desert camp trip, which we've done a number of times. This one was supposedly down towards the Yemeni border, but we found out afterwards we were taken to the border. So we get ourselves out. We're just exploring. Really interesting area, and the person who's running the trip says, guys, thanks for coming with me. I've wanted to get down here for about 15 years and no one would come with me. I'm just so glad. We're going to have a wonderful time. We go to bed, and Tam, pick up what happens about 4 or 5 hours later. So then I hear, like, this light comes on, and I hear all this loud noise, and I think, why are these other people we're camping with, why are they making so much noise this time of night? Right. Turns out it was machine guns being shot into the sand to startle us, and we were surrounded by a border patrol from our country, and at least it was from our country and not from
Yemeni.
So,
right?
Yeah. So I kept saying, I said, "Min wayinta," like, where are you from? I kept asking them in Arabic, where are you from? And when they told me Saudi, I was like, okay, it's okay. And so they questioned why in the world would we be there, and they were very confused, I think, because there's a woman there, and they were very confused, like, what we were doing there. And then when we were all kind of out of our vehicle, all out of our tents and cots, and we were standing there talking with the Saudis, the security, I said to one of the guys, I'm like, do they know that your wife is still in the tent? And so I got her out of the tent. So now there's there were 5 of us, and
Oh my God.
they wanted to drive us out of the desert because we couldn't stay. They said, you need to pack up and go. And so, as campers, like, you very carefully, methodically put your things away, and you fold things, like, you don't want things to get broken or damaged, or you want your car to also be safe so things aren't flying in the car. It was just get
shoving
everything
things in.
quickly as possible. And then I get behind the wheel because we thought, let me have me driving because it looks less. I don't know why exactly we decided that, but I was going to drive and Eric was in the passenger seat.
Which is shock to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why let the woman drive, right? This is Saudi Arabia.
And they wanted to have a border patrol in the car with us. Well, there was no room because of how we packed the vehicle. There was no room for someone else. And so I said, well, you can sit up on top. And the guy said, your husband can sit up on top. But it ended up, they let us drive, the 2 of us. We followed along. And then eventually there was some sand problems and dunes. And so eventually they drove the vehicle out. But it was somebody then driving Eric's vehicle while Eric's in the front seat. And I was in another car. The guy didn't speak any English.
And Greg, we're in some of the heaviest, tallest, scariest sand dunes we've ever driven in. We always take this incredibly carefully. You get to a spot, you look, you check everything. And these guys were joyriding in my Toyota Apogee.
And they knew the area.
They're used to like a Saudi truck in the middle of the desert. They're wondering, what are these people doing here? You're like, we're not expecting a resort. This is not Disney World. This is exploration, camping down. And you were just farther south than you thought, or closer to the border than you thought. We just got
too close. And they had seen the tracks.
Right.
And so they knew we were out there. And they could tell where we had come from.
They just didn't know
who.
They
still approached aggressively with their guns, and they had their hands on the trigger while we're still laying in the cot looking at them because we were sleeping open air, so we're just sitting there looking at them, and they're looking at us with these guns.
Well, there's problems on the border between Yemen and Saudi,
this is the thing. Drug trade, weapons trade. They told us that later on in the evening. So we had this, bit of terror at night. Then we drive down the road to the police station where they sit us in this luxurious room with cushions and dates and coffee. So, 1 minute.
While they interrogate you.
Yes. 1 minute we're being kind of yelled at in the desert, and an hour later, and fairly, like, we needed to be put in our place. Yeah. And then, an hour later, we're being served coffee, and would you like more tea? And here's some more dates. And then they asked us.
Yeah. And then we get a police chief saying, I think you will not come camping here again, will you, my friend? We will not come camping again. I think you will not cross the road to the south again, will you, my friend? We will not cross the road to the south again. I think we'll stay in a hotel tonight and go north.
Yeah.
We will stay in a hotel and go north. Yeah, Dad.
In all fairness, you guys are not beginners at this. You've gone camping in the desert before. You're professionals, so to speak, right? This is not your first rodeo.
No, and it's not something we'd recommend. It's just, and I think if we had known more, we might have been like, okay, this really, let's stay further away. It's not like, I've never lived my life with where's the line and how close to the line can I get in anything in life, But this was just. It's turned out we heard this, somebody say that you had these experiences where they were
type A fun, type B fun, type C fun, which is we got out alive.
Yeah, like if something was terrible when it happened and it's terrible thinking about it, that's what
type C
fun. And if it's
you literally dodged a bullet. Literally.
Yeah, but fun.
Right?
Yeah. So anyway, this was quite terrifying initially, and then this is interesting. We kept saying, will this be a problem for our company? Like, I kept asking, are you going to tell our company? Are we going to have jobs?
Well, you never know.
No, you don't. So we're going through all that sheer terror, Greg, when it finally comes about 2 a.m. that we have a police escort now to a Fleabag hotel. The guards want to take selfies with us to end the night. Habibi,
I forgot about that. They want selfies with what happened.
My mom. Yeah, it was something. We can laugh about it now, but as a full-grown adult, I nearly wet myself.
Well, and this was my second time to be face-to-face with someone with a machine gun yelling at me, because when I was in Sudan, some friends and I were having hot dogs and s'mores on the Nile River, and so a couple guys came up to us with machine guns and told us we needed to come with them to the police station, and we're like, no, but they had guns. Anyway, we managed to, we walked away, but so this was the second time I've had a bit of okay, that's a gun right in my face.
And this is not every internet. I didn't have
No, these are stories that we've collected over the years. You've been overseas a long time. You've crossed over the line a couple times, so to speak, right? We're not trying to scare the listeners. We're just giving some seasoned stories. Let's call them seasoned stories, right? That you
Can
in
I
a
share
situation that. Please go ahead.
Just one more short one. We were on a drive outside of the capital, Riyadh, and we were going on the road, and I see this car up ahead that's pulled over, and there's a falcon on a post. And
Fantastic.
there's a man, and I said, should we stop and talk to him? And Eric's like, no. And I was driving at the time. I'm like, yeah, we will. So pulled us over.
On two wheels.
And he didn't speak really any English, and I can get by with enough Arabic that I was asking him questions like, how much did this bird cost? What's its name? What does it eat? And I was
the
like,
guy with a falcon on the side.
Can you
He's
make
hunting.
it go and come back? Like, does it get a rabbit? And he ended up saying he invited us to his camp the next day. And so he sent us a location, and we drove to this camp in the desert. So this is, the one story being scooped up on the border, but this other story, the hospitality. I mean, and there was a hospitality even after we did get scooped up, because the dates and the coffee, and we'll take you to a hotel. But this, this gentleman, he invited us over to his tented area where he and his buddies, they have an area where they have
do their falcon.
They do their in the wintertime, that's what they set up, and they had 6 or 8 falcons, and they took it. We got to watch them. We got to watch them throw a pigeon up in the air,
right?
and the falcon capture it, and then we got in their vehicles, and they're tearing across the desert. That was our life was in our hands, because
it's probably more dangerous than machine guns.
Yes, and just chasing, like, where's the falcon? Okay, he's over there, and then then the truck's going, and there's another truck that's also looking up to see where the falcon's chasing the pigeon.
And we're sitting in the back without seatbelts.
Yeah, no seatbelts. But then the falcon catches the pigeon or the dove, whatever it is, and like they take the heart out and put it in Eric's hand, and the heart's going bump, 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 bump in his hand.
The heart of the pigeon, just like
heart of the pigeon, yeah. And then he fed it to the falcon. And I think they did the same. I didn't have
you did
I did the same thing, yeah. So, what a wonderful experience. Not for the pigeon.
I don't know a lot of people that have say, hey, by the way, I fed the heart of a pigeon to a falcon after it ripped it out of its rib cage, right?
Right.
Wow.
Good times, good times.
Yeah.
Great stories.
Yeah.
That's sort of like the hidden Saudi Arabia, too. It's not something you hear everyday trips, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Camping trips and stuff like that. Your two stories are very genuine.
We have been met by nothing but graciousness on our trips here. People have been bending over backwards to help us out. Incredibly kind. It's been wonderful.
We were a little bit turned around in the desert. We were following Google Maps, but we were kind of turned around. And these 2 young boys, I don't even know if they should have been driving a vehicle at their age, but we kind of waved them down to ask them if we were going the right direction. And broken English, broken Arabic, they led us totally out of their way, but they led us all the way to the road we needed to be on. And then we tried to give them candy, and they wouldn't take it. Eric kind of just threw the candy in their car. Yeah. We did take pictures with them. But they, we wanted to give them some money or something, and they were like, no, like, just gracious. And one time there was a lady in a Toyota truck, and she had her face uncovered, and we were stopped for gas. This is at the end of a camping trip, and she pulled over in this Toyota truck, and so I was chatting with her. And she said, come to my house. And we had a car issue, so we were going to be there for a while. Come to my place. And I was asking her, how far is it? Of course, we couldn't go, but of course I wanted to go. And she just was inviting us to come back to her camp and to her tent and have a meal. And I said, well, can I take a picture with you? And she said, yes. And then she put her scarf down. So there's a picture of me and this lady with a purple scarf over her head sitting in the driver's seat of a Toyota truck. And there were multiple wives. She had tattoos on her face, like tribal tattoos. It was just very cool, like to get out and about. Because I feel like if you're in the bigger cities in this part where we live, there's not as much engagement, interaction, or curiosity most of the time, because they're at their table at Starbucks and you're at your table at Starbucks. There's not that. Somehow it doesn't happen the same. But when you get out and about.
Yeah, when you're out and about, when you're tasting the local culture, I think. And I've had this several times here too. The only problem I have is that when they invite you to their encampment, like their camel herd or their encampment, and they're out with they might have like a big trailer out there. They might have a herd of camels, etc., because of that lifestyle. And the problem that I have with it is that they're like, come for dinner. And then you sit down, you have tea, and it lasts for like 15 hours. And all of a sudden it's like midnight, and then they're going to start cooking the goat, and then they're going to share it with you at 3:00 in the morning because it's cooler in the desert at night, right? I'm not a night person.
Super sweet, but yeah.
I know,
than what
totally.
we're
Like,
used to.
yeah, be a part of my life. And it's amazing that they want to share so much with you at the cost of a selfie. Oh, man. Well, listen, I know I hate to wrap it up, but we are almost at time to go out on duty. At least I have duty. You guys might not. I want to say thank you so much. Any final words for our listeners, either of you? We can start with Tamara and then Eric, about joining the lifestyle that we have, the career that we have of international teaching. Any?
I think, the work that you do in the classroom every day is, of course, why you're overseas, or at least, I think that should be a big part of it, your actual job. I think don't forget to live life and to think about your future as you go about the day to day.
Yeah. And if you are a stateside teacher, I would tell you that I finally got to start doing what I thought teaching would be when I came abroad. I did 17 years in the States, and it was, parts of it were enjoyable, parts of it were just bloody difficult. And when I came abroad, I had families who appreciated me, a rich community, and I got all those things that I'd been hoping for. And my attitude changed from how much longer do I have to do this to how much longer do I get to do this. And that was well worthwhile.
Great words. I apologize to our listeners and to my co-host that they could not join us. We did this off the cuff. Kent the Cat Guy is around. JP's around. Darian might be joining us. These are all people you know. And Jacqueline's asleep in Mexico somewhere. So I want to thank you on behalf of the ITP. What you have just shared with us is golden. We will cherish this episode, and we hope to hear back from you after the super trip that you're taking, because you are definitely eyes on the prize. I think that teachers starting out should listen to your advice so that they can go on that trip before they leave, that gap year in between retirement, maybe from teaching overseas, and going back to their home country.